All right, so welcome everyone. Good morning. My name is Nico. I am a resident director of Digman Hall in the Dickinson community, and my pronouns are he, him, his.
Hi everyone, my name is Don Alberg. I am a resident director in CIW for Seneca and Cayuga Halls.
All right, and everyone can hear us okay? Just a quick thumbs up. Perfect. Awesome. Let's get started. So we just want to start off with our departmental and vision and mission statement. So our 6 communities are more than a place to eat and sleep. They're where students make friends, have fun, and build the life skills essential to personal and academic success. And the mission statement is we provide a small school residential experience within a premier public university. Our dedicated staff and faculty educators engage with students in building strong communities that empower personal development and academic success. Our 6 diverse residential areas offer Bearcats a home away from home that supports learning and growth. All right, so what is an RA? What are their jobs and responsibilities? So they have quite a bit, as I'm sure you've all seen from your RAs, either here at Binghamton or if you've attended other campuses. The first and foremost, we implemented a residential curriculum last year called Be Connected, and that really just gives us a structure for what we're doing, right? It gives us the ability to work with students in different capacities with Be Chats, which are just individual intentional interactions, community building, guidelines for building bulletin boards, door tags, all of that fun stuff. As I mentioned before, the program in community building, your RAs put on tons of programs each semester, so we have a lot of facilitation guides and standards for those. Working duty each night, we'll get into that a little bit more in another slide. Being a campus resource, being knowledgeable of the different services that the university offers, you will have training in conflict management and resolution, which you might use pretty often for solving roommate conflicts, addressing and responding to different crisis situations and emergencies, administrative tasks, attending staff meetings, one-on-one meetings, supporting area traditions. Newing has Newing Navy, Hinman Hysteria, different things like that. And you will be assigned different auxiliary tasks or responsibilities within your residence hall. Those might range from fire safety to staff development, different things like that. So the RA role, there's 3 main aspects of the RA position, which are community developer, administrator, and staff member. For community developer, sorry, I gotta move around you all here. Residence Life uses the Be Connected model, as I was explaining, as a way to facilitate relationship building between RAs and residents. RAs go through training and provide detailed guides on how to fulfill the Be Connected vision. This may include developing an individualized relationship with students, providing them opportunities for community building, assisting residents within the limits of your training capability by being aware of campus resources, and encouraging residents to have a concern or respect for the rights and responsibilities of others. For the administrator aspect, organization and time management are key and necessary skills in order to complete different tasks that you'll be given and assist with different department policies and procedures. Such administrative tasks include, but are not limited to, the participation in staff duty responsibilities. That's working office duty. When you're assigned to, on the weekends, there will be a backup duty in case you need to assist the primary person on duty, assisting professional staff in different crisis situations if they pop up, etc. You'll uphold and support university policies and procedures and assist in the opening and closing procedures of the building at the beginning and end of each semester. And for the staff member, a key component of the RA role is working closely and collaboratively with your supervisors, with your peers, the departmental leadership, and the different campus partners and teams that we have on campus. We do collaborate with a lot of other offices on campus. It is expected that you'll act as a role model both on and off campus and be a positive representative for the Res Life department. Taking a position like this, once you become an RA, that's how others will recognize you, whether you're on or off campus. So it's important to behave appropriately. Participate in weekly staff meetings. There's also monthly professional development and services for each community. You'll have scheduled one-on-ones about every other week with your supervisor, and then other area and building meetings as they come up. And then you also participate in ongoing training and development both prior to the beginning of each semester and during the academic year.
All right, so Nigo's talked about what you're kind of doing in the role, so I'm going to start covering some of the things that you get out of the role. So there is compensation for being a resident assistant. Compensation includes a single room and a meal plan on campus. It is a Plan D meal plan. So on average, that comes out to about $17,500 in terms of value. So you don't necessarily receive a paycheck, but if you spread that like value out over the year, it's about $500 in pay a week. Some other benefits besides the pay, there are semester and monthly trainings and workshops. So before we open in the fall, there's a training that we have for all of the RAs to get them ready for the year. We also do that in the winter, but a little bit shorter. And then we'll do like monthly meetings in your areas, as well as like your weekly meetings in your staffs to cover anything that you might need to know or to get you prepared for any tasks you may be taking on. Obviously, you'll be making an impact in the position. You have a lot of interactions with students and the ability to kind of help them get through that initial transition into college and continuing on if they're past their freshman year. So that'll give you the chance to build up your social skills, build some relationships with other students, with other professionals. There's a lot of professional personal development opportunities in the role. So one of the big things that you get from the RA role is a lot of transferable skills that you can carry on past the role. All right, so the applications will be going live by Friday, December 18th, at the end of this week. On the ResLife website, you will be able to access that information. The applications themselves will be entered on HireBing. So if you have ever used that before for other employment on campus, that'll be the portal and website that we'll be using to accept the applications themselves. The deadline for applications is Friday, January 15th at 5 p.m. I would recommend not waiting until the last day to do it, but that's up to you. We are giving you plenty of time to work on this ahead of time, and it is during your break, so there shouldn't be too much academic conflicts there. You will be expected to have one professional reference, which I'll talk a little bit more in a second on, that's submitted by a Google form. If at any point you're having any technical difficulties with your application or submitting materials, you can send an email to ras@binghamton.edu. That's the email that the committee uses, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Just keep in mind that we do not monitor that over weekends or like non-business hours. So something to note is the university is mostly closed from Christmas Eve through New Year's Day. So you probably shouldn't expect any response during that time. So some further information about the professional references. Professional reference is someone who has direct knowledge in your professional capacity of leadership or work experience. So that could be a professor, a direct supervisor, an advisor, a coach if you've been an athlete. It can also be a professional staff member in ResLife, so like an RD if you happen to work with them through like HallGov or something like that. A professional reference would not be considered someone who has indirect knowledge of your leadership or work experience. So a friend of yours, a family member, an RA, these are people who don't necessarily hold a position that would be considered professional for a reference purpose. So just keep that in mind as you go to select who your reference will be. The references have the same due date as the application, January 15th at 5 p.m. and it's going to be your responsibility to give that information to the reference that you have, the Google form, and then they will submit it. When they submit it, that information will come to the selection committee, and we'll let you know once we've recognized that we have that submission and reviewed it, to then give you that confirmation that we have received it. You do not need to have the reference be a employee at the university. That can be someone who maybe in high school you had a coach or a teacher who you worked with. So it does not necessarily have to be someone who is from Binghamton University. All right, some additional notes. You should continue to sign up for housing if you were not applying, as if you were not applying for the process, if you were still intending to live on campus either way next year. We expect to have the decisions out before the actual housing selection process, but there is like the process of like going through the housing license, accepting that. So just keep that in mind, that if you are planning to live on campus, regardless of whether you have this role or not, you should continue to start that process, even if you are going through the application process for RA. Candidates are offered an RA position in based on specific community and departmental needs. So we are not going to ask you for your community preference. We can't guarantee that you would get any specific community. Ultimately, the RA position is a position that you can do regardless of the community. If you are selected, you'll be known what community you are initially assigned to, so you'll have that information when you go to choose to decide if you are going to like accept the position or not. But just keep that in mind. There is no guarantee on where you may be placed. Depending on the community in which you work in, if you're chosen, you may share common spaces with residents. So while you'd have a single bedroom to yourself, depending on the area, such as the apartments, Hinman, or CIW, those areas you tend to share a bathroom or a common area of some kind with other residents. And you will have the opportunity to opt into gender inclusive housing if that is something that you care for and are in those areas. Applicants will have the ability to express interest in a preference or specialty housing or learning communities. So we have another slide that I'll get into a little bit more on that in this moment. All right, some things to consider on if this is the right position for you. There is a GPA requirement. You must have a 2.5 GPA. If you are a transfer student, that applies to your Binghamton GPA, not your previous GPA at another school. That we're just looking at Binghamton credits for that. As an RA, you cannot be registered for more than 18 credit hours at a time, just recognizing the time commitment that comes with the position. That also applies for outside commitments, and you are permitted to only have 10 hours of outside commitment per week for another job or activity. If you are in the position, you'll be able to speak with your supervisor if you need to discuss that based on the situation. They'll discuss with you what they can work out. The position might affect financial aid. In Res Life, we aren't necessarily able to give you exact information on how that might affect that. So we would ask that you talk with a financial aid counselor to understand how and if that might affect your financial aid. Certain majors and their requirements can be challenging. So just keep that in mind. Some majors may have internships that are requirements or practicums that might make it more difficult for you to balance that time. That ultimately is going to be your judgment on if you should be applying based on balancing that time. You will need to have no conduct record at the time of offer. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Part of the application is you are acknowledging that we will be reviewing your conduct record at the university. So if you have any current conduct record, that will affect your ability to apply for the position and the considerations of that. And finally, in the role, you may encounter or assist professional staff in topics that are considered more sensitive or may be triggering depending on past experiences. Those include mental health crisis, sexual harassment or violence, suicidality, bias-related incidents. We give you a lot of training to handle those incidents, and they are not necessarily common. In fact, they can be pretty rare. You may or may not have to actually deal with those type of incidents, but we do want you to be aware that it is a possibility. So that is something that you would need to be prepared for. And we will certainly give you resources to train you for those situations, as well as resources during and after those situations to assist you. All right, so further discussing some specialty housing options. On the application, you'll be able to indicate if you have interest in these. So some area specific things, some different learning communities that may be in certain areas, you'd be able to say if you'd be interested in being in those. And then some in multiple communities, there are also like chem-free, break housing, transfer, quiet living communities. Just be aware that based on the current availability of positions, if you say you're interested in these, we can't guarantee that you get them, as well as the fact that you may be placed into them if there is a high need for those. With the one exception being of like break housing, we wouldn't force you to be in break housing if you say you can't be here for breaks. So just be advised that we're looking to get your preferences on that, but we can't necessarily guarantee one way or the other.
All right, so VMOC. So VMOC is actually a pretty cool program. It's a smart career platform, and it, as it states there, it gives you instant and automatic career guidance for your interviews, for your resume, and feedback. There's the webpage there. I highly encourage you to check it out in the coming weeks, to highly utilize it and to reach out to the Fleischman Center too right away if you feel like that's something that you'll need to utilize. All right, so you submitted your application, now what? So the committee will be reviewing the different content of your application, your resume, your references, all of that good stuff. As Don was mentioning before, we'll be reviewing your fall semester grades, and we'll be also reviewing your conduct records. And then pending all of that review with your resume, your reference, your grades, your conduct, you'll be notified later in January if you're being offered an interview. And then at this same time, you'll be notified of your scheduled interview day and time, which will take place in early February. We're coming to the timeline in a few slides here too. So the individual interview, candidates, you'll be invited to an individual interview and will be expected to return to campus during the first days of move-in of the semester, which starts February 5th, I believe, Friday. So more information about this process will be provided during interview signups, where you give to pretty much just give your preferred times for interviews. So the dates for the interviews are going to be scheduled between Friday, February 5th and Wednesday the 10th, which is right before classes start. Arrival to the interview, be ready to go 5 to 10 minutes prior. It's all gonna be over Zoom, so just making sure that you're ready to go, any technical issues, anything like that. What to wear, dress in business attire as you would for a professional interview. Your resume was included with your application, so you won't have to provide us any extra copies of that. What to expect. So you'll be speaking most likely with a pro staff and current RA. However, it might be a different variation of Res Life staff, just depending on who we have available. And there'll be 2 individual interview slots, both being around 30 minutes. If you need any accommodations for the interview process, please email the committee at ras@binghamton.edu, and we'll be happy to help you out with that.
All right, so the community showcase is something that we'll be doing most likely in the first week of February. This is an opportunity for you to interact with the professional staff and probably some RAs as well for each community to kind of hear from them what their perspective of working in that community is. You'll be able to have some FaceTime with each of them to get your name out there as well. So it kind of gives you the opportunity to understand what each community is like. In case you happen to be chosen to work there, you'll have a better understanding of what you're getting into. All right, application review. So after you've submitted your application and gone through both interviews, at that point, the selection committee and community professional staff will review your application materials. So while there are only a small number of staff who might interview you, all of the staff, professional staff who are involved in the decision-making process of hiring people will review the information from your interview. So just because you meet with like someone from CIW or something like that, you could still be hired in any area based on that information that they're recording for everyone to review later on. We do review all of the application material after the interviews. So there's not necessarily too much of a difference on if you apply early on, like in the next few days, or whether you wait until near the deadline. We're not going to give that application its full review until after we have all that information collected to give everyone that equal opportunity. All right, notification. So we expect in early March, you'll be notified of our decision regarding your candidacy for the RA position. So there's 3 different decisions you may receive. The first is that you are being offered an RA position in a particular residential college or community for the 2021-2022 academic year. You'll also be notified if there's any specialty housing assigned to you in that assignment. The second option would be that you are not offered an RA position at that time, but you're put into our active pool or wait list for consideration of vacancies arising. That means that we believe you are capable of doing the job. We just don't have enough space or spots available at that time to appoint you. But we do expect spots to open up. There are usually some people who turn down the position. We'll have vacancies that open up during the summer as well as into the fall and winter periods. So just because you don't get it immediately does not mean that there won't be an opportunity for you if you choose to continue to be on the wait list. And then the final option would be that you are not offered a position or a place in the active pool. And if that does occur, we would certainly encourage you to continue to be involved on campus and take on more leadership opportunities to further grow your skills in case you are looking to apply again in the future. Something to note, if you decline an RA position at the time of offer or while you're on the wait list, you will be removed from consideration for future offers. So if you get like an offer in one community and you're like, I don't want to work in that community, we would then remove you. It isn't a case where you can pick and choose what offer you're willing to take. So you have to accept the offer when you get it or be removed from consideration. When you receive your offer, there will be a due date for an acceptance letter. Usually it's a few days, at which point you would need to return that to indicate that you are accepting the position.
All right, so the timeline, so December 18th, this Friday is when the applications open. It'll be on the ResLife webpage, and I believe the link is in another slide. The due date for the application is January 15th at 5 p.m. That is a Friday, and please keep in mind that references, their submissions are also due that day. Between January 18th and the 22nd, we'll be sending out a form for you all to give us your preferences for your time slots for both part 1 and 2 of the interview. January 29th, hopefully by this day, we'll be able to notify you of your interview time slot when you're scheduled for. During the first week of February, we'll be having our community showcase. We haven't solidified a date yet, but more information to come after the new year. From February 5th to 10th will be the interview days, and then early March will be the decision notification. Here it is, the website. So here, this is what the website looks like currently, how to apply. It has our Zoom, but by the end of the week, it will be updated with the application link and everything like that. You could also find the application link through HireBang if you're familiar with using that platform. But we highly encourage you to keep an eye on this webpage as a lot of updates will be coming here as we get them. Here's a checklist. So good, you already completed the first one, coming to an informational session. As I mentioned, please keep your eye on the websites, fill out the online application. Again, you'll need one professional reference and your current resume. Log into the housing portal, sign your housing license to get those priority points. in case you don't receive an offer for the position, as Don was explaining before. And this does not lock you into signing up for a room. Save the dates for the individual interviews. On the application, there will be that conduct review release link to fill out. Please do that. And attending the community showcase is optional, but we highly recommend it because you get to know the different staff in the different areas and what they have to offer in case you haven't experienced those. So now we'll begin our Q&A session, but I'll stop recording. But in case you have any other questions you want to email us, as we mentioned, please email ras@binghamton.edu. Myself and Anne St. Just, who's the RD of Endicott Hall in Newing, we're both the co-chairs. So one of us will probably be most likely replying to you, but feel free to reach out to the committee if you know them. And again, here's the website link.